Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. It is a somewhat nasty morning weather-wise, so there are many delays. So make sure you check in to find out if your school or work is delayed. Wyoming. Let's add those into the system. There we go. Thank you very much. Comment from a viewer this morning. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Looks like the Easter Bunny has over 100,000 Easter eggs to color. Yes, 100,000 eggs stolen. I think that was in Pennsylvania, wasn't it? Where the prices of eggs have made them lucrative for thieves. The viewer continues, but really they are like gold at $6 a dozen. Yes. Eggs are going to be a big topic. It doesn't look like it's going to slow down anytime soon with the bird flu affecting so much of the egg output. So thank you for that comment. A couple of somewhat breaking stories that happened overnight. We're going to get to those. We do have a couple updates on New York. Of course, a lot from the Trump administration, as is to be expected. First of all, this is an update from a story that we brought you extensively on the program. There was a person that went on the subway in New York City and was asking for, quote, Zionists to be ID'd. And it was a very scary situation. People felt very intimidated. It led to the call for a anti-mask mandate, meaning that you can't wear masks to intimidate others. And that's when, if you recall at the time, as we predicted here and proved to be the case, Governor Hochul said she would look into it, and we knew that meant that nothing would come of it, but it was such a hot topic that she had to weigh in on it and act as if she was doing something. Well, the anti-Israel protester, you guessed it, got a slap on the wrist for allegedly barging onto a packed Manhattan subway train. This was over last summer, and demanding Zionists, that's the term that he used, identify themselves. This legal outcome has many in the Jewish advocacy community outraged. Anas Salih, who's 24, will have his disorderly conduct charge tossed if he completes, wait till you hear this, 4 hours of community service at a Jewish organization and attends an anti-bias course for his alleged threatening behavior. That's according to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. They're probably too busy continuing their pursuit of Trump. Saleh was also initially facing coercion and attempted coercion charges, but those have already been dismissed by a judge because of, quote, facial insufficiency. Yes, because again, due to the masks. The DA's office agreed with providing Salih the opportunity to rid himself on the final charge after speaking with the complaining witness and, quote, considering the defendant's lack of criminal history. Prosecutors also noted that Salih completed a program mandated by his employer. Now, Leroy Rez, the founder of the Stop Anti-Semitism Advocacy Group, said a mere 4 hours of community service and an anti-bias course for blatant anti-Semitic harassment. This is not justice. It is a disgrace. Anas Salih's threats against fellow passengers on the New York City subway warranted real consequences, yet he walks away with a slap on the wrist. This weak response sends a dangerous message. Anti-Semitism is tolerated, Rez wrote. We demand accountability, not appeasement. Community Security Initiative, a group dedicated to protect and enhance the security of Jewish communities and institutions in New York City, is also calling out the state for what it says are weak hate crime laws. Well, just weak on crime in general. This is a larger picture. This isn't just about this one case. This is a larger picture of what we're dealing with as a state in general. They said, "We are deeply concerned that New York's current hate crime laws do not classify Mr. Salih's actions as a hate crime. His conduct was not merely an exercise of constitutionally protected free speech. He deliberately used the term Zionist in the same way that haters use other prosecutable words of hate. We call on the New York State Legislature to update existing laws to accurately reflect the hate involved in such cases and ensure their perpetrators face appropriate consequences." Salih allegedly screamed, if you recall, "Raise your hand if you are a Zionist. This is your chance to get out." Again, this led to Governor Hochul saying, "Oh, we'll look in to an anti-mask ruling." And of course, nothing was ever done. And now we learn that that anti-Israel protester receiving a slap on the wrist by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Okay, so that's one update. And then just to tie into that, on Fox News Channel's Fox and Friends yesterday, Columbia University Business School professor Rand Kivitz, he praised the Justice Department's new anti-Semitism task force and stated that while the riots and violence have calmed at Columbia and elsewhere, quote, "below ground, the anti-Semitism, the systemic anti-Semitism at Columbia, the anti-West indoctrination continues and increases. The commission is absolutely necessary," he said. "It's a great step. Things have gotten better above ground. So the type of riots that went on consistently at Columbia University, those types of riots and violence and taking over buildings has calmed down. Below ground, the anti-Semitism, the systemic anti-Semitism at Columbia, the anti-West indoctrination continues and increases. Some of the professors who are driving the systemic anti-Semitism, who are ideologues, extremely biased individuals, not just against Israel, against the West, are the same professors who are directing, some of them, the same professors who are directing the undergraduate program, the core curriculum. Some of them are the ones who are adjudicating the violators of the regulations." So it's a self-perpetuating system where some of these professors hire others that have a similar monolithic ideology like them, tenure them, and it just perpetrates itself. He concluded that the commission will look into the systemic anti-Semitism. I think what they'll find is many other things that are correlated that go along with that, including, again, as I said, anti-West indoctrination, a severe bias against our way of life, against freedom, against free markets, against the same systems that allow people to teach. Yeah, we've talked about the protests being not just anti-Israel, but also anti-American, anti-police. So praising, and this is a Columbia Business School professor, praising the Justice Department's campus anti-Semitism task force, and we look forward to seeing what that leads to, because and I think it played one of many reasons why Kamala Harris lost the election. But I think when people with their hard-earned money, working hard every day, you hear the plow going by, pardon me, every day, working hard to just make do, and then they see Biden and Harris make the decision to forgive student loans, even though the Supreme Court said they couldn't, forgive student loans, and then they see what's happening on college campuses with the anti-Semitism and the anti-American hate. And I think it was a bridge too far, so to speak. Also in breaking news, and we're jumping all around. It's not just going to be on the same topic this morning. That's the news cycle during the Trump administration. Attorney General, the new Attorney General, we mentioned her confirmation yesterday on the program, Pam Bondi, has now ordered the Department of Justice to pause all funding for sanctuary cities. This is going to get interesting. We do have other updates on ICE raids and immigration policy in general. But the newly inaugurated Attorney General Pam Bondi ordered the defunding of jurisdictions that refuse to cooperate with federal immigration authorities, potentially cutting off a significant money source for New York. Bondi issued the edict shortly after being sworn in by the Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas at an Oval Office ceremony with President Trump in attendance. Her first day memo says, and I quote, "The Department of Justice will ensure that, consistent with law, sanctuary jurisdictions do not receive access to federal funds from the department." Now, keep in mind, remember how much Governor Hochul was depending on federal money in general. So this will be a blow to New York. Quote, "Consistent with applicable statutes, regulations, court orders, and terms, the Department of Justice shall pause the distribution of all funds until a review has been completed terminate any agreements that are in violation of law or are the source of waste, fraud, or abuse, and initiate clawback or recoupment procedures where appropriate. Both New York State's government and New York City are sanctuary jurisdictions that do not cooperate with Immigrations and Customs Enforcement in deportation proceedings. And that was one of the reasons for the Lake and Riley law. Other sanctuary states include California and Connecticut, while major cities such as Chicago, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. also have such policies. A relatively small share of funding flows from the Justice Department to New York State and local governments, but the declaration could further pinch budgets already tightened to provide housing and services for the surge of migrants who arrived under former President Joe Biden's more permissive border patrol policies for asylum seekers. The memo orders an immediate 60-day pause on distributing the funds with a report on further steps due to Bondi's desk within 45 days. Bondi's order also says the DOJ, quote, shall not enter into any new contract, grant, or other agreement to provide federal funding to non-governmental organizations that support or provide services, either directly or indirectly, to removable or illegal aliens. Now, it's unclear if the action portends a broader initiative by the Trump administration to use financial leverage to force states and cities to comply with the mass deportations of illegal immigrants. We've watched this firsthand yesterday, the ICE raid in Aurora, which was a violent gang. And remember, the governor there said, nope, there is no violent gangs. There's nothing to worry about. Well, we found out yesterday, of course, and we found out before, but of course there was. Now, the idea of cutting off sanctuary jurisdictions is popular among Republicans. Speaker Johnson previously proposed putting it into legislation. So there is another update. Obviously, as I continue to mention time and time again during the Trump administration, the news is ever breaking. We have breaking news hand over fist this morning, and we have some topics we'll dive into further and discuss more in depth, but feel free to weigh in at any point. But we got to take our first break. Boy, time flies. Please be careful on your way into school and your way into work this morning, and check to make sure if there is a delay. There are a lot of 2-hour delays out there. The roads are quite nasty. So keep that in mind as you prepare, again, to head into work or to head into school. We're going to take our first break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Welcome to Pangea Global Tea House.
Pangea Global Tea House offers comfort foods of the world with over 50 teas and a sampling of cuisine from over 10 countries. Come in and try our duck baki or eggs benedict. They are full of flavors your taste buds will thank you for.
Start your off right with the New Year's New Ride sales event.
Here at Blaze Alexander Ford of Mansfield. Find affordable adventure with a new Ford Bronco and save up to $9,000 off MSRP.
Enjoy rates as low as 1.9% on 2024 Ford Expeditions and 2024 Ford F-150s.
Shop 24/7 at BlazeAlexanderFordofMansfield.com or stop and shop to save some green off Route 15 in Mansfield, where we're taking the deals the other guys won't.
From laminate and vinyl to tile and wood, Floor & Decor has more options for pros, homeowners, and anyone looking for the right look at the right price. Your next beautiful space is at Floor & Decor.
32 teams started a journey. 2 are left standing.
Both teams look unstoppable right now.
GMFB Overtime has everything you need to know to get game ready for Super Bowl.
This is what it's all about.
With in-depth on-site pregame coverage.
This is everything.
And Monday, don't miss our extensive post-Super Bowl 59 show from New Orleans.
Will there be beignets?
Your road to Super Bowl 59 starts here on GMFB Overtime.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security today for all your business and home security needs. You see what the roads look like out there, so be careful if you will be traveling at any point. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking, as we broadcast live from the Hesselson's studio. A couple comments from viewers. The Democrats are without any power and are resorting to calling for violence. I hope and pray they are prosecuted for calling for violence. They are not protected from that. Doge is hurting the pockets of money laundering from previous and current politicians. Amazing how all the areas getting the money aren't democratic societies. They're all socialist societies. 20 million for Sesame Street in Iran, really? Yeah, we've learned a lot about USAID, haven't we? We have a couple examples of that a little bit later on. Comment from a different viewer. The story about the illegal that got caught 7 times. This is USAID money being abused for this guy to travel here on our dime. The non-governmental organizations, or the NGOs, should be held accountable. It looks as if they are finally being held accountable. I see some other comments coming in. We'll get to those a little bit later on. No more transgenders and girls' sports in schools. Now, that is an awesome thing that Trump did yesterday. It's funny you say that. Trump takes action to ban transgender women from women's sports. That's the way the CNN headline puts it. President Donald Trump took executive action yesterday to deliver on a political issue central to his campaign, which is banning transgender women from competing in women's sports. Again, this is the wording coming from CNN. Trump signed an executive order titled Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports at an afternoon signing ceremony, surrounded by dozens of women and some young girls in athletic uniforms. Quote, with this executive order, the war on women's sports is over, the president said. The order is two-pronged, leaning on compliance with Title IX, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex in education programs or activities that receive funding from the federal government, as well as federal engagement with the private sector. Trump's latest measure comes as his administration has already sought to target transgender rights through executive action, some of which is already facing legal challenges. Well, it's funny that's supposed to be kind of loaded there, where already facing legal challenges. Everything Trump does, and he was prepared for this, faces legal challenge. It doesn't mean anything more than lawsuits begin to be filed. Ahead of the signing, a White House official said the new action will take the opposite position on Title IX from the Biden administration, which established a rule that schools are violating Title IX when they ban transgender students from participating on sports teams. The Trump administration's position on Title IX, the official said, is, quote, if you're going to have women's sports, if you're going to provide opportunities for women, then they have to be equally safe, equally fair, and equally private opportunities. And so that means that you're going to preserve women's sports for women. Now, some critics of transgender athletes claim they have an unfair advantage in sports, but that's not what the research shows, is how CNN puts it. Imagine that. Is that not very much like what we see with the issue of inflation when it was under the Biden administration? Never mind what you're seeing, never mind what you're experiencing, that in this case, there is no competitive advantage for a man playing in a woman's sport, according to CNN. According to the research, the CNN presents from 2017. While research is limited and ongoing, a 2017 review in the peer-reviewed journal Sports Medicine found no direct or consistent research showing trans people have an athletic advantage. CNN proving yet again that they have not learned their lesson. Now, Trump has also revealed that he has directed Kristi Noem to protect women's sports and deny visas of transgender athletes. President Trump said that Kristi Noem, is to deny any and all visa applications of transgender athletes attempting to enter the United States. In a statement, quote, in Los Angeles in 2028, my administration will not stand by and watch men beat and batter female athletes, and we're just not going to let it happen, and it's going to end, Trump said. And it's ending right now, and nobody's going to be able to do a, we'll say, darn thing about it, because when I speak, we speak with authority. And for the same reason, just to make sure, I'm also directing Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem to deny any and all visa applications made by men attempting to fraudulently enter the United States while identifying themselves as women athletes trying to get into the games. Now, the NCAA released a statement after Trump signed the No Men in Women's Sports executive order in the East Room. NCAA President Charlie Baker responded, saying it provided a clear national standard. Baker said the NCAA Board of Governors would review it and take steps to align the organization's policies in the coming days. Quote, the NCAA is an organization made up of 1,100 colleges and universities in all 50 states that collectively enroll more than 530,000 student athletes. We strongly believe that clear, consistent, and uniform eligibility standards would best serve today's student athletes instead of a patchwork of conflicting state laws and court decisions. To that end, President Trump's order provides a clear national standard. The NCAA Board of Governors is reviewing the executive order and will take necessary steps to align the policy in the coming days, subject to further guidance from the administration. The association will continue to help foster welcoming environments on campuses for all student athletes. We stand ready to assist schools as they look for ways to support any student athletes affected by changes in this policy. Trump, before signing the executive order, said this doesn't have to be long. It's all about common sense, adding that women's sports will be only for women. The war on women's sports is over. Trump expected the NCAA and the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee to comply. He does expect, said Carolyn Levitt, the Olympic Committee and the NCAA to no longer allow men to compete in women's sports. I think the president, with the signing of his pen, starts a very public pressure campaign on these organizations to do the right thing for women and for girls. And again, this is an incredibly popular position. That's what's so interesting about CNN's article on it, saying it's a divisive campaign issue. It does not seem to be very divisive. Some have pointed to his campaign ads, Trump's campaign ads, talking about this position specifically being one of the deciding factors for many voting in his direction. The president, continuing with Levitt's statement, the president is bringing their voice to the highest level in the White House. He expects these organizations to comply with the federal executive order he will be signing today. So there is another breaking news update from yesterday. Obviously a campaign position that Donald Trump was taking during the election season, so it doesn't come as a surprise that this was done. It may have come as a surprise for those in the media. That's why you see CNN and others trying to twist it. But that is one of the many breaking stories from yesterday. We're going to get to some others here when we come back. Got to take another break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Discover a path to receiving an exceptional educational experience with all costs covered. That's our mission. Find your future at Milton Hershey School.
Are you or someone you love at risk of falling in the home? Did you know 80% of home falls happen in the bathroom? If you are still stepping over a tub to take a shower, please call Bath Planet for a free design service. Our certified design team will take all the measurements and work with you to design a bathroom that never has to sacrifice style for safety. Go with the company that people trust. Bath Planet, 2 locations serving the entirety of the Twin Tiers. Call today.
Is it most important? Don't you want more energy? Now is the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
I would never the picture that I have. I'm the only one that's not smiling. Even though I'm with my close friends, I felt alone. I didn't feel pretty. I didn't feel confident. When I got Invisalign, I built my confidence. It was the best investment that I could do.
I invite you to discover what makes our school community so special, including the fact that everything, top-notch education, housing, healthcare, food, clothing, technology, and much more is provided to our students at no cost to our families. This is thanks to the generosity of our founders, chocolate maker Milton S. Hershey and his wife, Catherine.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back. Broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Yesterday we had a viewer. We got a lot of comments coming in. I'm going to get to those in just a minute. Don't think I'm skipping anybody. Yesterday we had a viewer write in, and I thought it was pretty clever. Who do you think we'll see shown more on camera during the Super Bowl? Will it be President Trump? Will it be Taylor Swift? To keep you updated on the vote, right now it's 3 for Taylor Swift, 1 for Trump. Not everybody wanting to weigh in. Some having some strong opinions that did weigh in. But I thought this was a reminder. Of course, you can tune in right here on Big Fox to watch the Super Bowl on Sunday. And at 3 o'clock during Sunday's coverage will be the interview with President Trump held by Brett Baer. Looking forward to watching that. But I thought this was an interesting story, and this isn't breaking news, but just because I have a second here to talk about the Super Bowl. There is a Christian music star. Her name is Lauren, I hope I'm pronouncing the last name right, Daigle. Listen to this. On Sunday, she's going to join Trombone Shorty for a rendition of America the Beautiful during the Super Bowl pregame show. Now, why is this so important? Well, let's take a step back. Daigle's performance in New Orleans during one of the most watched TV events in the world comes years after New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell called for her to be removed as a performer when the city hosted Dick Clark's New Year's Rocking Eve celebration. Because of, must be her Christian faith or being a Christian music star, the mayor of New Orleans called for her to be removed as a performer. Now talk about a full circle, as she is going to perform in what is the biggest crowd, the biggest viewing audience in TV, as it is broadcast around the world. Ahead of the Super Bowl, Daigle joined Fox News to talk about what this meant to her. To get this moment years later, I would say for anybody watching that has had their reputation smeared in any sort of way and they're just waiting for the moment of vindication, sometimes it only takes 5 years. In 2020, Cantrell publicly lambasted, that's the mayor, Mayor Cantrell, publicly lambasted Daigle after the 2-time Grammy Award winner gave an impromptu performance at an outdoor prayer service, concert, and rally hosted by Christian singer and worship leader Sean Foch. The event, New Orleans famed Jackson Square in 2020, was part of a Let Us Worship tour, which also served as a protest against COVID-19 restrictions on churches. So attempted to be banned. I think she was eventually banned by the mayor, and now making it full circle to the Super Bowl. I thought that was an amazing story and just something that passed by the desk this morning, and I thought, well, I'd mention that to you. Okay, some actual breaking stories. The State Department says that the U.S. government vessels traveling through the Panama Canal are now doing so without fees. The Department of State announced on Wednesday the United States government vessels would be allowed to travel through the Panama Canal without facing charge fees. In a post, the Department of State highlighted how since U.S. government ships would no longer face fees, this would save the United States millions of dollars a year. And this is probably in an offering, and now Panama may be seeing the writing on the wall that they should be more friendly to the United States. We know that they got out of that deal, that contract with China, and now we learn that they're also saying, not wanting to have United States intervention, saying, oh, by the way, your government vessels, no service fee on that. The announcement from the Department of State comes as President Trump has remained adamant about the U.S. retaking control of the Panama Canal. In December, Trump threatened to retake the Panama Canal and has accused Panama of ripping off the U.S. and charging U.S. ships exorbitant transit fees. So we learned that yesterday, that now the U.S. government vessels are allowed to travel through Panama, the Panama Canal, without fees. Also, Marco Rubio's having a busy week. Good week. Marco Rubio wins a big migrant deportation deal with Guatemala, and we're going to get a little bit later on, we're going to talk a little bit about the some of the immigration enforcement. But Secretary of State Marco Rubio has inked a deal with Guatemala that allows U.S. officials to deport many migrants from many nations to Guatemala. The deal is valuable for Americans because it helps the United States to deport migrants from countries whose home governments refuse to take back their own migrants. They're so-called, these countries include 3 of the major migrant countries, China, India, and Venezuela. It also helps to speed the deportation of migrants from many countries that obstruct, slow, and delay the official documents that allow the United States to land the deportees at foreign airports. Democrats in Congress have little power to frustrate the deal or the similar deal that Rubio negotiated earlier in the week, right? Was it late last week or earlier this week with El Salvador, doing the same with El Salvador. So we have major wins for Marco Rubio. So El Salvador accepting migrants, and now inking a deal with Guatemala. Now, yesterday's big story was taking over Gaza. At one point, the White House clarified what was being said, and of course, those that don't like Trump saying that he backtracked. That's not the case at all. What the White House is saying is the involvement in rebuilding Gaza does not mean commitment of troops or taxpayer dollars. Carolyn Levitt fielded questions, specifically one from NBC News senior White House correspondent Garrett Hake earlier in the briefing yesterday, after Donald Trump said Tuesday that the United States would take over the Gaza Strip. Hake suggested that Trump's vision could entail boots on the ground and nation building. Levitt said, I would reject the premise of your question that this forces the United States to be entangled in conflicts abroad. The president is not committed to putting boots on the ground in Gaza. He has also said that the United States is not going to pay for the rebuilding of Gaza. She added that the administration would work with the Middle East allies to reconstruct this region, and also emphasized that while it may be an out-of-the-box idea, the American people elected Trump because he thinks outside the box. That's why the American people elected him, she said, and his goal is lasting peace in the Middle East for all people in the region. She added that American involvement means the president will use his deal-making prowess to strike a deal with our partners in the region. Now, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth did say, though, all options are on the table after Trump floated the takeover of Gaza. Hegseth declined to get ahead of the commander-in-chief about the United States, what we would or would not do, instead telling Laura Ingraham that Trump is an outside-the-box thinker, that is a common phrase being used, who is willing to overturn the apple cart. You bring peace, this is Hegseth, you bring peace by eradicating terrorists who seek the destruction of Israel. That's how you bring peace, and so I support that. What happens after that is a longer conversation, and hopefully in every case the president would acknowledge this. You don't want to have to use American boots at all if you don't have to. That's my preference. So not trying to get ahead of the president, but just stating his preference. Wow, we've got a lot of comments coming in, which is perfect because we have to take a short break. We're going to tell you what Netanyahu's continuing to say about the quote-unquote Gaza takeover. We've got quite a few things here about Gaza. We're going to get into Elon Musk. Yesterday was, and I have not heard, I saw an article that yesterday was supposed to be kind of a day of protest against President Trump and Elon Musk. I saw the story kind of mid-afternoon yesterday, but did not see any coverage. I don't know how the protest went. If you heard, we know a few days ago there was a protest against Elon Musk specifically by many of the powers that be in Washington, many Democrats in Washington taking to the stage, and Chuck Schumer starting that awkward chant, "We will win." So there are protests. We do have a couple examples of the anger the Democrats have right now against Elon Musk and obviously the Trump administration in general. We'll talk about that, but let's take a short break and I'll read your comments when we come back. Talkative morning. Please be careful on your way into school or your way into work. You want to check ahead and make sure there aren't any delays because there's many delays out there and cancellations. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam is brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs.
Why it's hard to stop a train? It's how we've invented products that reinvented our world. It's how we test as hard as the elements do. It's how we run.
Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning in Corning is now offering residential plumbing services. A local, veteran-owned and operated company with over 25 years experience. You can trust the experts at Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning.
Never settle for ordinary. Not when outstanding is within reach. From laminate and vinyl to tile and wood, Floor & Decor has more options for pros, homeowners, and anyone looking for the right look at the right price. With an entire store full of ideas in stock, your next beautiful space is at Floor & Decor.
GMFB Overtime has everything you need to know to get game ready for Super Bowl.
This is what it's all about.
And Monday, don't miss our extensive post-Super Bowl 59 show from New Orleans.
Will there be beignets?
Your road to Super Bowl 59 on GMFB Overtime.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Quite a few comments. Oh, we got another vote, by the way, that one viewer believes Trump will get more video time on screen during the Super Bowl than Taylor Swift. Right now, that puts it at 3-2. Taylor in the lead. Okay, just a fun little poll that someone started yesterday. Okay, first comment. Good morning. Oh, hey, good morning. Wait, let me keep going. Good morning from Bath. Well, hey, thank you very much. Maybe you or your viewers could help. I can't seem to find a single good project that USAID is funding. Are there any worthwhile programs that they fund? Great question. I can't think of one off the top of my head. I will say it's kind of like the New York State budget. When there is so much money involved, there's got to be something good, right? We talked about this with the 7-man Phil Palmisano. There could be a lot of bad and there can be a lot of ugly. But there's got to be something with that kind of money being spent, something good. But what that program is, I'm sorry I can't help you. And to kind of piggyback off of what you said, a different viewer said, Elon Omar said USAID is the reason she is here. That's the best case to get rid of USAID. A next comment from Mark. Mark says, that's great news that our U.S. government ships can go through Panama Canal for free. But how long has China been going through there for free? That's a great question. Probably for quite some time. Well, they signed that deal. Don't correct me if I'm wrong, or don't quote me on this, I should say. I think they signed that original deal with China back in right around 2017, something like that. But that doesn't mean that China was going for free, but they were basically going with China's initiative. So Trump seeing the wrong and rectifying it. And now we have that great news. So I don't have the answer for you on that. Back to Gaza for a moment. Netanyahu praised Trump's Gaza Strip takeover plan, saying as the first good idea he's heard regarding the war-torn region. He said this yesterday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, of course. The actual idea of allowing first Gazans who want to leave, I mean, what's wrong with that? They can leave and they can then come back. They can relocate and come back. But you have to rebuild Gaza. If you want to rebuild Gaza, this is the first good idea that I've heard. It's a remarkable idea. And I think it should be really pursued and examined, pursued and done. I think it will create a different future for everyone. That's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu And, of course, Trump said it could be the Riviera of the Middle East. Trump's proposed U.S. takeover of the Gaza Strip, moving all Palestinians living there to other countries. That first came out on Tuesday night. Trump added that the roughly 2 million Gazans would be relocated to neighboring countries in a transitional phase and indicated they would not be granted the right of return afterwards. The 47th president said he would deploy U.S. troops to the territory if it's necessary, and that he imagined the world's people occupying an international, unbelievable place that would be regarded as the Riviera of the Middle East. So Netanyahu said, I think it's something that could change history, and it's worthwhile really pursuing this avenue. Now, you can see the left and the media not liking it, even some in the Republican Party questioning it. But the Middle East special envoy said that the plan to expel Palestinians from uninhabitable Gaza would ensure a better life. This is Steve Witkoff. Now, Steve Witkoff said, a couple days ago, that it could take up to 15 years to really do this right. But peace in the region means a better life for the Palestinians, Witkoff said. A better life is not necessarily tied to the physical space that you're in today. A better life is about a better opportunity, better financial conditions, better aspirations for you and your family. That doesn't occur because you get to pitch a tent in the Gaza Strip and you're surrounded by 30,000 munitions that could go off at any moment. So that interesting. Now, Rand Paul, on the other hand, highly critical of this. Now, after Marco Rubio tweeted out, Gaza must be free from Hamas. As President Trump shared today, the United States stands ready to lead and make Gaza beautiful again. Our pursuit is one of lasting peace in the region for all people. But Paul argued that the future of Gaza is the business of Palestinians and Israel, not Americans. This is what Rand Paul tweeted out yesterday. The pursuit for peace should be that of the Israelis and the Palestinians. I thought we voted for America first. We have no business contemplating yet another occupation to doom our treasure and spill our soldiers' blood. Now, if you do recall, as I mentioned just moments ago, Pete Hegseth said he preferred no troops on the ground. So it's not gone that far yet. But this also comes on the back of Rand Paul opposing tariffs as well, saying tariffs as an economic policy are a disaster for the consumer. I mean, higher prices, even if the tariffs are only on China, the average price that the consumer will pay is about $1,000 more. So kind of back-to-back anger with the administration. Other lawmakers are skeptical, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Oh, we got a lot of comments coming out. I love everybody being chatty this morning. You must be on 2-hour delays this morning. Members of Congress from both parties were stunned at Trump's out-of-the-box thinking with the takeover of the Gaza Strip. Lindsey Graham criticized Trump's desire to, quote, see a long-term ownership position in the region, saying that it's problematic at many, many levels. We'll see what the Arab world says today. Tom Tillis suggested to the outlet that there were still, quote, a few kinks in the slinky. Obviously, it's not going to happen. I don't know under what circumstance it would make sense, even for Israel. Now, if Israel is asking for the United States to come in and provide some assistance to ensure that Hamas can never do again what they did, I'm in. But us taking over seems like a bit of a stretch. Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chairman Jim Risch urged his colleagues to be more open-minded about this, saying the world is at an inflection point that requires new ways of thinking. President Trump is willing to take risks many in the establishment haven't even conceived of. I also know the president joins me in the belief that we cannot afford any more forever wars. Yeah, and I don't think anybody's talking about a war. Trump is just, to the talking point of the day, out-of-the-box thinking, looking at it from a way that I don't think any of us expected on either side of the aisle. I'm not even sure if Benjamin Netanyahu expected it during the press conference, but just one of those let's think about it ideas. Trump, and we don't need to go into every comment that Trump has made about it. Josh Hawley, a firm defender of Trump's America First agenda, told Jewish Insider, I don't know that I think it's the best use of United States resources to spend a bunch of money in Gaza. It's a proactive part of the this is John Fetterman. It's a proactive part of the conversation, but it's part of the conversation, and that's where we are. John Fetterman. And I think that's the point, to have the conversation, to think outside the box in a way that isn't just the kind of establishment way of doing things. So a little bit of back and forth. Now, Speaker Johnson said the United States stands firmly with Israel and the people of the Middle East, which haven't experienced peace in many, many years. Violence and hatred do not have to define the region's future. Today, Trump took bold action in hopes of achieving lasting peace in Gaza. We're hopeful that this brings much-needed stability and security to the region. Let's turn Gaza into Mar-a-Lago, said Representative Nancy Mace. Let's take a short break. There is a piece at the New York Post, if you're interested, why Arab nations may secretly approve of Trump's Gaza takeover. We don't have time to get through the whole piece, but kind of an interesting take on it. The U.S. and its allies in the Middle East could present a clear vision of Gaza next week when Trump is set to meet with Jordan's King Abdullah II at the White House. Run a little bit late. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When you think boots, think Hesselson's. Hesselson's has the largest selection of work boots in the area. Composite and steel-toe boots, Met Guard boots, soft-toe boots, and hikers, duty and western boots, all in one location. Hesselson's, Amara Heights. Hesselson's has men's and ladies' boots in all sizes and widths. Choose from the largest names in the industry: Danner, Carolina, Timberland Pro, Keen Utility, Thorogood, Area, and Georgia, to name just a few. Hesselson's has been locally owned and operated since 1955, so when you think local service and great selection, think Hesselson's. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
I would never the picture that I have. I'm the only one that's not smiling. Even though I'm with my close friends, I felt alone. I didn't feel pretty. I didn't feel confident. When I got Invisalign, I built my confidence. It was the best investment that I could do.
Sheldon and Missy face off in Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
I'm not feeling so good. Biohazard! Biohazard!
Young Sheldon.
Weeknights at 6:30 on Big Fox. The Big Fox website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio, nearly wrapping up hour number one. I have so many comments coming in. Thank you. First up, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. I was wondering if there are any way the Trump administration can remove liberal federal judges that all block his policy. No, I don't believe so. I think that's why Biden put forth so many judges towards the end. Chuck Schumer hangs his hat on that, recounting the numbers that they got. I don't think there is any mechanism there. I could be wrong, but if there is a mechanism there, rest assured Trump will find it. Next up, a comment from a different viewer. Trump will wind up with more TV time, but it'll probably be of him eating or drinking or picking his teeth or yawning, etc. Good point. Many people thinking that, and if you're just joining us yesterday, just having a fun poll about who will be shown during the Super Bowl coverage more, Taylor Swift or Donald Trump, because it is alleged that Donald Trump will be attending the Super Bowl. I have not heard anything more about that or any confirmation specifically. But if that is the case, who do you think will show up on screen more? At first, yesterday, Taylor Swift was taking the lead. Now it's tied up 3-3. And I would think it would be Taylor Swift just because of the nature where football coverage has been going for some reason. But I like you now that you make me reconsider that, if they can show him in a, well, no, because it is Fox. No, I don't know. But you may be right. It won't, they show Taylor Swift so much though. But no, the Fox coverage I think could play a part in that, and it could be more Trump. But as of right now, it's tied 3-3, so weigh in. Just a little fun we're having on the program. Next up, comment from a different viewer. Love Trump's plan for Gaza, and the subway tunnels are already built. That's true. Sorry, I got distracted by the plot. Comment from a different viewer. I think it's great that other countries are taking illegal criminal aliens, but what do they get in turn for this deal? Well, in El Salvador, I know they did say in that huge prison that they have where they're going to take some of the illegal criminal aliens, They did say there's going to be a nominal fee. It's not. They said a very minimum fee, just enough kind of. Basically, they make out in the deal, but it cost us not really much of anything. I have not seen the numbers specifically, but yes, there will be some type of cost there, most likely. But not the kind of cost that we see with having them here. Of course, not just in government money being doled out, but also in the fact of the gang activities and the lives lost. So next up, I'll tell you why the Democrats are having a fit. They didn't think of things to help America, and Trump did. Democrats are jealous. Thank you very much for that. And another comment. As far as Gaza goes, how much money have we poured into it already? Aid, food, etc. So maybe we should own it. That's one of the thoughts. But again, get your votes in. Who do you think will be shown? It is the Super Bowl coverage is right here on Big Fox. So it'll be interesting to see who gets covered more, if it is Donald Trump or Taylor Swift, which is a conversation I don't think I ever thought I would have. And someone suggested yesterday they should stay in the same booth, so it's nonstop coverage. I don't think they're friends. Now, John Podhoretz says that Trump dares the world, who is stuck in failure, with a bold Gaza plan. You want a way forward for the area that has been decimated as a result of the terrorist war launched against an unsuspected Israel on October 7, 2023. A war Israel neither sought nor planned for nor expected to have to fight. You want to cry bitter tears over the uninhabitable of Gaza as a result of the consequences of the war that is entirely the moral, logistical, and geopolitical responsibility of the terrorist organization Hamas and its sponsor in Iran. Dry your tears, says Donald Trump. Here's the plan. Gazans will have to go elsewhere for a while. Gaza will be cleared. It's a demolition site. Unexploded ordinances will have to be dealt with. Many existing structures will have to be torn down. It's an area the size of Chicago, so it's quite the job. So he goes through and talks about how this, again, the term being used this morning, outside the box thinking. Going forward in the Middle East may lead to disaster. But what have the last 25 years in the Middle East been but disaster and uncertain and incomplete efforts to cope with the disasters emanating from there from 9/11 on? We've spent half a century listening to the sage counsel of responsible and sober men who tell us that they understand history and its consequences, leading to Sullivan and Blinken and Biden and Harris. They weren't playing the great game. They were playing 52-card pickup. Time for a new deck. Time for a new dealer. Time for a new Middle East. That's John Podhoretz. I thought that was a good point. Okay, so Stephen Collinson from CNN, just give you kind of a quick update. Oh, yes, here's a comment from a viewer. Al Green of Texas has filed articles of impeachment. They will never learn. Yes, yesterday, I'm glad you mentioned that. They already... Democrats were calling for impeachment. You know what? I'm going to take my last break of this hour, and we'll go right to that. Since you brought it up, because that's something I meant to get to, but we'll be just having such great conversations. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now, 844-617-0440.
Hustling plus overbooked plus bustling plus cleaning overlooked. It all adds up. With Mary Maid's professional cleaning services, you'll have one less thing to worry about. Mary Maid's, relax, it's done. Hustling plus too busy plus bustling plus in a tizzy. It all adds up. With Mary Maid's professional cleaning services, you'll have one less thing to worry about. Mary Maid's, relax, it's done.
Never settle for ordinary. Not when outstanding is within reach. From laminate and vinyl to tile and wood, Floor & Decor has more options for pros, homeowners, and anyone looking for the right look at the right price. with an entire store full of ideas in stock. Your next beautiful space is at Floor & Decor.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson's studio. A comment from a viewer before we went to break was that Al Green of Texas has filed articles of impeachment they will never learn. Will bitter Democrats move to impeach Trump again already? Yes, on, February the 5th. Democrats could be heard screaming as House Republicans shut down their request. The move comes after bitter lawmakers got into a shouting match earlier yesterday over Elon Musk and demanding he be subpoenaed over his drastic overhaul of the U.S. government. They're very upset with cost-cutting measures made by Doge and just cost-cutting measures in general. Democrat Representative Al Green of Texas called for Trump to be impeached over ethnic cleansing in Gaza in a furious rant on the House floor. The movement to impeach the president has begun, Green said. I rise to announce that I will bring articles of impeachment against the president for dastardly deeds proposed and dastardly deeds done. Interesting. I haven't heard that in a long time, huh? Dastardly deeds. Green's move comes after Trump said at a news conference with Benjamin Netanyahu that the U.S. wants to take over the Gaza Strip. The Texas Democrat said he, quote, laid the foundation for impeachment for Trump before and will be doing it again. Now, Green was one of the lawmakers who brought on Trump's first impeachment back in 2017. After all this, J.D. Vance scoffed at the enraged Democrats. I see Democrats are busy doing the people's business, he said. That's a great way of putting it. That's what J.D. Vance, very clever. Not really surprised. I would say maybe perhaps the biggest surprise is that it took this long for someone like Al Green and some of the far-left Democrats to call for impeachment. Now, if you recall, last time it started, wasn't it on Inauguration Day? Was the first, not attempted at impeachment, but first calls for impeachment. Now, Congressman Jerry Connolly introduced a motion which would force Elon Musk to testify in front of Congress about his work. So it was a two-parter. It was impeachment and then getting Elon Musk to testify. I rise to announce that I will bring articles of impeachment, as I mentioned, against the president of dastardly deeds proposed and dastardly deeds done. So that was Al Green. Connolly said Musk and Trump are, quote, using a wrecking ball to systematically dismember our government piece by piece. Who is this unelected billionaire that he can attempt to dismantle federal agencies, fire people, transfer them, offer them early retirement, and have sweeping changes to agencies without any congressional review, oversight, or concurrence? The congressman called Musk as a witness to, quote, given his providence and his importance. That's when Comer immediately fired back and said, not debatable. That's when chaos erupted as Republicans scrambled to table the motion. Democrat Representative Melanie Stansbury yelled it was outrageous for the motion to not even be entertained. Let's have order in this country, she cried. Mr. Elon Musk is out of order in dismantling this country. So a lot of unhinged, quote, unhinged behavior yesterday with Al Green already suggesting, I shouldn't even, that puts it too lightly. He has laid the foundation for impeachment, and he said he will bring articles of impeachment against the president. Again, I just like saying it, quote, for dastardly deeds proposed and dastardly deeds done. We got to wrap up hour number one, hour number two on its way. Stay with us. I got a lot of comments coming in. Keep those comments coming in. I appreciate it. We'll talk a little bit more about that. A couple other things that happened yesterday in Washington, and then a lot here about President Trump. Also, there is an update, not necessarily an update, but a little bit more information on the Democrats in Albany wanting to stop or delay a special election for Elise Stefanik's seat. That, of course, to give Speaker Johnson even a slimmer majority of Republicans in the House. It is, some saying it's very undemocratic, all being done in the name of democracy. So we'll talk about that as well. So we've got Federal issues, state issues, local issues, regional. Be careful on the roads out there, folks. If you are headed into work or you're headed into school, double check that there isn't a delay, because there's a lot of delays out there, a lot of cancellations. But if you have to be on the roads, be very, very safe. We'll be right back with hour number 2 after this. Stay with us.
Today's top story: increasing fuel costs continue to drive up inflation, making it harder to afford everything from food to home heating.
Here at Hustlesons, we know the only way to beat inflation is to fight inflation. So we're fighting back with zero interest financing and big cash rebates. Get a 4-person hot tub for your family for as little as $100 per month and pay zero interest. Or save up to $3,000 on a fabulous salt system hot tub. And of course, you will always get Hustlesons' unbelievable service. Don't let inflation fears kill your dreams. Fight back with Hustlesons. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hustlesons.
Grab 25 by the horns with the Start Something New sales event.
Here at Blaze Alexander Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Mansfield.
Take advantage of the lowest price guaranteed on new 2025 Ram 1500s with up to $13,000 off MSRP.
Go anywhere, do anything in a 2024 Jeep Gladiator with rates as low as 2.9% for 72 months.
Shop 24/7 at BlazeAlexanderCDJR.com or Stop and Shop to save some green off Route 15 in Mansfield,
where we're taking the deals the other guys won't.
We lost our son Brett to a glioblastoma. This was our last chance to show our community who he really was. Carpenters, Phillips, and Flint, they were so willing to create that ceremony however we wanted to do it. They could not have been more gracious.
You should consider them highly. You'll feel good about your thoughts and your decisions.
Visit carpentersphillipsflint.com to learn more about our family.
Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. I'm your host, Frank Acom. A couple comments coming in from viewers in the first hour. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Nothing screams term limits more than officials like Green, Al Green. Although New York has Schumer. Yes, well, they both can scream term limits. Yes, if you didn't hear in the last hour, Al Green already calling for impeachment of President Trump, and then you've got Connolly and others asking for Elon Musk to be subpoenaed. What is being called kind of unhinged displays. Comment from a different viewer: they are trying to impeach Trump again. Are the Democrats nuts? They will never learn. We voted Trump in. Yeah, I mean, it's not really going anywhere. This is all for show. This is the kind of thing that Al Green can fundraise off of. This gets the far left base worked up and thinking that something's going to come from it, and nothing's going to come from it. So it's all for show. And this should be no surprise if you know Al Green and his history. This is kind of par for the course. Saying, I know, I promise I won't quote it much more. I rise to announce I will bring articles of impeachment against the president for dastardly deeds proposed and dastardly deeds done. And then you had Conley Congressman Jerry Conley, trying to subpoena Elon Musk, and that there was no discussion on it, so that led Representative Melanie Stansbury to say it was outrageous and Mr. Elon Musk is out of order in dismantling this country. After lawmakers shouted back and forth at each other, Republicans blocked the subpoena notion. Stansbury later posted, out of order. No, Elon Musk dismantling of the federal government is out of order. Why is the GOP blocking a subpoena to have him appear in front of the Oversight Committee? Musk fired back. This is typical Elon Musk. He fired back at Stansbury's quote, saying, "Can I help you?" Federal workers have until Thursday. Oh, we know all about that. Okay. The other thing I find interesting as we talk about the media in the past, we've got something else on this, but I wanted to mention this before I forgot. I see a lot of coverage of Trump's executive order banning people that were born male from competing in women's sports. Okay. And the wording on all this is kind of fascinating, how the media does it and how they, have to kind of walk on eggshells on how they report it. But so far, most of the pieces I saw from what you would call more of the mainstream media, or more of maybe left-leaning media, is most of the articles end with, while research on the topic is limited, studies have shown transgender athletes do not have an athletic advantage. So biological men competing in women's sports do not have an athletic advantage, according to the mainstream media, and also that is based on limited research. The CNN piece referenced 2017 study, but anyway. Okay. Also, adding on to the calls for impeachment by Al Green, the calls to subpoena Elon Musk by Jared Conley. 2 Democrats reportedly barged into House Speaker Mike Johnson's office on Wednesday and confronted him about Elon Musk's access to the Treasury Department's sensitive payment system. Representative Judy Chu from California told reporters that Gwen Moore, quote, forced her way into Johnson's office, and then I got to go in right behind her. And she was already confronting Speaker Johnson about Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and the stealing of Americans' private information, tax information, that should never be stolen and given to this billionaire, Elon Musk. I always do find it interesting that when someone is called a billionaire by Democrats, that is considered a negative term. I mean, it's really an insulting name to give somebody, which I hope someday they're able to insult me and call me a billionaire. But it's always loaded in a way when they use it that it's a negative. But Moore said Bessent was not in the room during the intrusion. According to the report, he had been in Johnson's office earlier to meet with Representative Jason Smith. The episode unfolded amid growing Democrat backlash to the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, and the chair reportedly gaining full control over the sensitive payment system code that directs Social Security payments, tax returns, and other payments owed to Americans. Lawmakers were told by the Treasury Department officials that Musk and his DOGE associates currently have read-only access to the system. A witness described the encounter by the 2 lawmakers Wednesday as, quote, aggressive and frankly unhinged behavior. The speaker was more than gracious and allowed the members into his personal office to hear their concerns. Again, if you tie in with what Al Green did, Jerry Conley, and now Gwen Moore and Judy Chu, quote, I think it all could be described as aggressive and frankly unhinged behavior. You will see more of that, especially with their real hatred of Elon Musk right now, looking to cut back government waste. That's not something Democrats are typically in support of, and you see that anger today. Now, Stephen Collinson from CNN said Trump's power grabs will go on until someone stops him, and that's not happening soon. A month into Trump's first term, the president's then political sage, Steve Bannon, coined a doctrine to explain the conservative wrecking ball now demolishing the U.S. government. Quote, the deconstruction of the administrative state. It took 8 years, but the theory is becoming reality and could portend a fateful reshaping of American governance under a mighty president that was never envisioned by the founders. So Stephen Collinson gets to decide what the founders envisioned. Though I will say, and I was having a nice conversation yesterday about this, you know, it's almost in some ways a blessing in disguise that Trump lost in 2020, because this gave him the time to prepare. I mean, look at the executive orders. I mean, obviously there's not a group behind the scenes writing this amount of executive orders starting on January 20th. They were done well ahead of time, preparing for the lawsuits. They were prepared for that. They're preparing in different ways to cut back on federal waste. So all of these things, it was like a 4-year warm-up to be prepared for term 2. It's kind of an interesting take on it. Trump and his merchant of chaos, Elon Musk, are pummeling federal agencies, targeting bureaucrats, clawing back spending approved by Congress, buckling the world order, and busting trade pacts. Do any of those sound bad? I know CNN is presenting this as bad. Do you, and do the people that overwhelmingly voted for the America First agenda, does that sentence sound scary to them? That's the question I pose right now. Trump and his merchant of chaos, Elon Musk, are pummeling federal agencies, targeting bureaucrats, clawing back spending approved by Congress, buckling the world order, and busting trade pacts. They are following a playbook developed by movement hardliners, dismayed at the missteps and lost focus of Trump's first term, who are determined to use a potentially short window on power to forge irrevocable change. Once again, Trump is raising questions about the executive branch, et cetera, et cetera. 5 key questions or trends are emerging that will help to define his second term. Is growing outrage and fear justified? To what extent are the shocks rattling Washington simply the signs of a hyper-committed new administration implementing a mandate to transform how the country is run and who runs it? Or are Trump's tactics becoming an all-out assault on the Constitution from a president who believes he has unlimited authority and who mocks checks and balances meant to ensure commanders-in-chiefs are not kings? So 2 very loaded questions there from Stephen Collison. Next, Musk, wielding vast, mostly invisible power, working deep beneath the hood of the federal government, is especially problematic. He's not elected or confirmed by Congress and seems accountable to nobody, perhaps not even Trump. See how they throw that in? I'm just preparing you for what the conversation will be around on places like CNN, places like MSNBC, and the mainstream media, ABC, NBC, CBS's. And there are multiple and growing signs that institutions like the FBI, CIA, DOJ, and federal agencies that Americans have relied upon to deliver justice and keep them safe, prosperous, and healthy are now mere tools of Trump's whims. Who is going to stop any of this? After last fall's widespread defeat, Democrats are toothless. Republicans who run Congress have neutered their own branch of government to appease an all-powerful president. Court cases are coming, but can't keep up with Trump. That trail of shocks and uproar, he continues. That has been a fascinating part because by the time the Democrats craft a message about how outraged they are about Trump, that issue's long gone because there are so many breaking stories throughout the day that it is really, they're not able to keep up. And the same goes with this. Yes, they're throwing lawsuits around, but Trump was prepared for that as well. Now, oops, did I bump my button there? There we go. I don't want to go through any more of what Stephen Collison has to say because you have the idea of what CNN and their coverage is like. But the White House insists Trump is simply enacting a mandate, he says. Musk seems to be the focus right now by the media and as well as Democrat lawmakers saying that he's not elected. But nothing, other than offering buyouts and things like that, nothing has really been done. It's more of the villain behind the screen is what they're trying to present him as. Because right now, according to the Treasury Department, accessing the payment program is read-only, meaning that he can't change it, he can't affect it in any way, just reading the code, figuring out if perhaps there's better ways to do it, better ways to respond. How am I doing? Oh, I'm running late. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the Trump administration. I do want to get to, and maybe we'll do this next, because I don't want to forget, there's 2 updates from New York, and they're kind of quick updates, but I think definitely worth mentioning. So stay with us. Keep those comments coming in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Your water is delicious. I know, right? It's this Culligan Smart drinking water system. What do you think is going on in there?
I'm smelling a touch of chlorine.
Yeah, I'm detecting some PFAS.
I'm also getting notes of lead.
Perfection.
Sending it up.
Here we go.
Certified to reduce more than 70 contaminants. It's like having your own team of water experts. See the smart difference at Culligan.com.
Migraine strikes. Do you question the trade-offs of treating? Ubrelvy is another option. It works fast, and most have migraine pain relief within 2 hours. You can treat it anytime, anywhere. Tell your doctor all medicines you take. Don't take with strong CYP3A4 inhibitors. Get help right away for allergic reactions like trouble breathing or face, tongue, or throat swelling, which may occur hours to days after use. Common side effects include nausea and sleepiness. Migraine pain relief starts with you. Learn how AbbVie could help you save on your Brelvy.
30 teams started a journey. 2 are left standing.
Both teams look unstoppable right now.
GMFB Overtime has everything you need to know to get game ready for Super Bowl.
This is what it's all about.
With in-depth on-site pregame coverage.
This is everything.
And Monday, don't miss our extensive post-Super Bowl 59 show from New Orleans.
Will there be beignets?
Your road to Super Bowl 59 starts here on GMFB Overtime.
What's that? Oh, did you? That's nice. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Thank you for all the comments this morning and all the conversations. We broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. And thank you so much to this viewer, because it was driving me nuts. I could not think of the cartoon character that said dastardly deeds so much. I knew it was a reference coming from somewhere, and if you're just tuning in, you're probably confused as to what I'm talking about. But Representative Al Green, who called for impeaching the president already, said he is bringing articles of impeachment against the president for dastardly deeds proposed and dastardly deeds done. And this viewer says Al Green is impersonating Dudley Do-Right. Thank you. I knew that was coming from somewhere, and I couldn't think of what it was. So I appreciate your help there. And we have wave after wave after wave. We'll get to your comments in just a little bit. Here's another comment, though, from a viewer. It's about time the government got an overhaul. How many fake jobs are created? I bet many. And the government spending was way out of whack. Hats off to the new team. Thank you very much. We're having great conversations this morning. I appreciate it. Please be careful on your way into school or your way into work. It's very hairy out there. Okay, switching up real quickly to New York. First of all, this is interesting. Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado won't commit to endorsing his own boss, Governor Hochul, for re-election in 2026. Now, keep in mind, Richie Torres looks like he is going to try to primary Hochul. Probably Richie Torres is a strong enough candidate that he could perhaps beat her. So maybe Delgado looking out for his own best interests. He said, my focus right now isn't on the election. My focus is on governing right now. That's the focus. Now, you would think if someone asked about your boss, you might say, of course. But that goes to show maybe a very glaring weakness that Hochul is going to have. But we've been talking about Albany Democrats and Governor Hochul looking to delay the special election for Elise Stefanik's seat in the 21st District. That means it would give Speaker Johnson a slimmer majority of Republicans in the House. Purely political move. You know they would be calling for expediency if it were a Democrat-leaning district. It is not. So they know since it's going to go red, they want to delay it to make it more difficult on Mike Johnson. It's very much petty politics at its worst. And we had a piece yesterday that was shocking. They were talking originally about, and again, this is all kind of delayed. We haven't heard all of the details, but they're not just saying that maybe move it to the time of the primaries, meaning in June, late June, but maybe even waiting until November. But Paul Dreyer with the New York Post, he is a cities policy analyst at the Manhattan Institute. He said Democrats are quick to label President Trump and other Republicans as, quote, threats to democracy. But their latest proposal in New York poses a far more concrete threat to the democratic process. Governor Hochul, prodded behind the scenes by House Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries, is weighing a measure that would extend the timeline for special elections. That's because Elise Stefanik will be vacating her seat in just a few days to become the ambassador to the UN. The idea is to give a Democrat a better shot at replacing her while also slowing down House Republicans. And at the end of the day, it is wrong. A century-old law directs the governor of New York to call a special election within 10 days of any congressional vacancy, with the vote to be held 70 to 80 days later. But the state legislators' sudden proposed change would stretch both the time to call the special election and the voting window, potentially delaying the vote until June or even November. That means the 21st congressional district will be left without representation the whole time. Jeffries personally lobbied Hochul and top state legislators to change the law, expressly to deprive House Republicans of a crucial vote. And keep in mind, this is being done to stymie Republicans, and it's one-party rule in Albany, so they'll most likely get their way. With Stefanik's confirmation expected this week, and the seats of Florida's Matt Gaetz and Mike Walz now vacant, the GOP faces a razor-thin 217 to 215. By delaying a special election in a reliable Republican district, Hochul and her allies appear intent on stalling Trump's House agenda, an ironic move for those who claim to defend democracy. Rockland County Representative Mike Lawler called the proposed delay, quote, an outrageous abuse of power that exposed Democratic hypocrisy, and even urged the Justice Department to open a RICO investigation into the matter. Now, we know Mike Lawler is considering running for governor as a Republican. Democrats argue that merging special elections with regular ones would spare counties from cost and logistical headaches. Yes, because that's one thing we know. Albany Democrats really want to save people from logistic headaches and save money. Funny that they're concerned with public costs when it comes to handcuffing their political opponents, while Hochul proposes to bloat the state budget by another $12 billion in the next fiscal year. And we just mentioned yesterday the $13.5 million just to somehow stop cell phones in schools, banning cell phones in schools. No one can figure out why it would cost $13.5 million or really any money at all, but that's the case. Meanwhile, extending the vacancy will keep the constituents of New York's 21st district voiceless in Washington for months, silencing them in debates on vital federal issues. Hochul and others in Albany claim the proposed change is a matter of voting rights, citing the historically lower turnout of special elections. But it's hardly the first time New York Democrats have undermined the democratic process in the name of voters' rights. In 2022, they cited voter equity when they advanced a congressional redistricting map so erroneously partisan that the Court of Appeals struck it down for its unconstitutional gerrymandering that, for example, lumped heavily Republican Long Island with Democrat strongholds in Westchester and the Bronx. In 2015, then-Governor Andrew Cuomo stalled a special election in New York's 11th district when GOP Representative Michael Grimm resigned. Staten Islanders sued, claiming the governor's delay violated their constitutional rights, and the judge ruled in their favor. Weinstein warned Cuomo that, quote, unjustified delay cannot be counter-nuanced, I don't know what that means, and ordered him to set a special election date within 2 days. Only then did Cuomo comply. Nor has Hochul herself been above such tactics. In 2022, she scheduled a special election for New York's 19th district to coincide with the state's congressional primaries on the far end of the legally mandated window in hopes of boosting Democrat turnout in favor of Democrat Pat Ryan. Republicans charge Jeffries lobbying for a revised special election law drew harsh criticism from Speaker Johnson, who slammed the maneuver as an open display of political corruption. And that's why I think it is smart that Lawler called for a RICO investigation. It really does rise to that level. On Monday, state Democrats hit pause on introducing the bill, though much like Hochul's politically motivated congestion pricing delay, it could resurface at any moment. The pattern is clear. And this again, Paul Dreyer. For a party that claims to guard democracy, state Democrats seem all too willing to manipulate the rules for partisan advantage. New Yorkers deserve election rules that prioritize fairness above all. We should not have to rely on state Republican lawsuits or state Supreme Court rulings to protect voters from legislative dirty dealings. If Democrats are serious about preserving quote-unquote democracy, they should protect the vote from political gamesmanship and hold special elections according to the law on the books, not finesse them for partisan gain. So there are your updates on New York this morning. We're going to get back to the Trump administration. We do have a couple of quick things here I think I want to mention about Kamala Harris. Keep those comments coming in. I appreciate all the comments coming in. And we will be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Trust your smile to Dr. Henches at either Watkins Glen, Elmira, Horseheads, or Elkland Family Dentistry. All 4 locations provide cutting-edge technology to make sure your visit is comfortable and stress-free. Dr. Henches offers treatment in all areas of dentistry, including same-day crowns, implants, root canals, oral surgery, and treatment for all ages. For the best dental care in the region, trust Dr. Henches and his staff at Watkins Glen, Horseheads, Elmira, and Elkland Family Dentistry. Call any one of his offices today or visit them online for more information.
In today's world, securing your business is more important than ever. Protected with Boss Security's state-of-the-art alarm systems. When seconds matter, trust the experts. Boss Security is proud to safeguard local businesses across the Twin Tiers. Contact Boss Security today.
I would never forget the picture that I have. I'm the only one that's not smiling. Even though I'm with my close friends, I felt alone. I didn't feel pretty. I didn't feel confident. When I got Invisalign, I built my confidence. It was the best investment that I could do.
Hey, Southern Florida's calling, and we've got some exciting news. Allegiant Air is expanding its schedule. We are now offering a new service to Sarasota, a flight to Sanford, Orlando, Tampa St. Pete, and Punta Gorda, a Myra Corning Regional Airport, the premier airport of the Southern Tier.
I invite you to discover what makes our school community so special, including the fact that everything, top-notch education, housing, healthcare, food, clothing, technology, and much more, is provided to our students at no cost to our families. This is thanks to the generosity of our founders, chocolate maker Milton S. Hershey and his wife, Catherine.
It's a new season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. I'm your host, Frank Acom. Comment from Ken. Thanks for writing in, Ken. He says, it's comical seeing the Democrats melt down when Trump starts to uncover the kickback money laundering schemes that our politicians have clandestinely put into place to fleece the taxpayer. I hope Pam Bondi works to legally hold them accountable. It's about time to get our elected and unelected bureaucrats to start working for their constituents instead of working to put our money in their pockets. My one fear is that they will pull all the stops in an effort to stop or eliminate Trump. The first 4 years of chaos will look pale in comparison to the chaos the Democrats will bring in the next 4 years. Well, when you figure it's February 5th when this happened, today's the 6th, of course, but when it happened, well, Al Green already calling for impeachment. Yeah, the anger is clear. Oh, another comment from a viewer. We got another click here for Taylor Swift. If you're wondering if that's in reference to, the question was asked yesterday by a viewer. Well, it was proposed that we do a poll. We're all excited, of course, about having the Super Bowl here on Big Fox on Sunday. And a reminder, President Trump's interview is at 3 o'clock. But the question was asked, if Taylor Swift is at the game and if President Donald Trump is at the game, who will get more camera time? Who will they show more frequently? Right now, and it's not a vote, because as I said, it's not about who you think should be shown more. It's about who you think will actually be shown more. Right now, it stands that Taylor Swift is up 1 over Trump. So there are no wrong answers, folks. Just wanting to hear your opinion. Some saying probably Taylor Swift just because the nature of where football has been going and her pop stardom. Some are saying Taylor Swift, or some are saying Donald Trump because obviously he's the president of the United States. You don't even have to give your reasoning. Just type the name. And we'll add it to the list and we'll read it on Friday, and then we'll see tomorrow, and then we'll see what we, maybe anecdotally, what we saw and who we think got more time. Okay, just quickly, speaking of the media, the uncut 60 Minutes Kamala Harris interview was revealed yesterday. Did you happen to see it? She gave a 179-word meandering answer on the question that 60 Minutes cut to just 20 words. Think of that, folks. Now, remember, they kept saying that it was not edited to benefit Kamala Harris, yet they took a 179-word meandering answer and cut it down to just 20 words. The FCC says it's investigating CBS for possible election interference after complaints that the 60 Minutes program cut Harris's word salad answer to make her look more coherent, more competent. We know that Donald Trump has the $10 billion lawsuit against the network, which there's something to be said there. I mean, that is essentially a political donation in a way to Harris that is giving her unfair and unjust coverage. Trump appointed FCC chair Brendan Carr got the full transcript and video on Monday after a tug of war. Well, you knew something was up when they didn't give it up right away. See, they got cocky, if you recall. They got cocky and played one answer to a question during one of their programs and a different answer to the same question in another program. And so red flags rise and people go, what's going on? What's happening here? And of course, then they stay silent. They don't want to release the transcript. And as we said on this program, if Trump didn't win, we would have never actually known what was said, what Harris and 60 Minutes were up to. And you blame 60 Minutes on this. They, of course, again, and the media shows this time and time again, they show their bias. They show their one-sidedness. But they're still saying, no, it's just for space or clarity. A CBS source told the Post on Wednesday that the 60 Minutes edit did Harris, quote, a lot of favors and makes her seem more succinct. You have to watch the video. A lot of word salad, the source says, feels like a cleanup on aisle 7. Not a technical foul, but one could argue still news distortion. Trump and conservatives have pointed to the vastly different answers given by the Democrat presidential candidate about the Gaza war, one that aired on Face the Nation, the other that aired on 60 Minutes the following day. In a question that was asked by Bill Whitaker about what the U.S. could do to stop the war from spinning out of control in Gaza, Harris provided a rambling 140-word answer, according to the full transcript. I don't think you want to hear me read all of it, right? But the version that was broadcast showed a succinct 56-word reply. Do you want me to read it? No, probably not. You can find the transcript and the video for yourself. The Harris reply that was broadcast was chopped to just 20 words. However, the full transcript shows Harris giving a long-winded 179-word answer. Let's go for it. We got just enough time right before break. Well, let's start with this. On this subject, the aid that we have given Israel allowed Israel to defend itself against 200 ballistic missiles that were just meant to attack the Israelis and the people of Israel. And I think that is the most recent example of what we do to assist in their defense around military aid is important. And when we think about the threat that Hamas, Hezbollah presents Iran, I think that is without any question our imperative to do what we can to allow Israel to defend itself against those kind of attacks. Now, the work that we do diplomatically with the leadership of Israel is an ongoing pursuit around making clear our principles, which include the need for humanitarian aid, the need for this war to end, the need for a deal to be done, which would release the hostages and create a ceasefire. And we're not going to stop in terms of putting the pressure on Israel and in the region, including with other leaders in the region, including Arab leaders. There you go. This will be interesting to see where the FCC goes with this. But also Joe Rogan is claiming that the Kamala Harris campaign is lying about his offer to do the interview and saying that he, quote, has the receipts, meaning he has the conversations, the emails, the back and forth. And that's in this new book that we had mentioned the other day on the program where they're suggesting that he basically didn't want to have her on the show and about the booking process. The whole idea that they didn't take the interview because of Trump is not true, Rogan said. I got to be careful because he cusses a little bit. One of the things that they said that wasn't true was that we lied about the day Trump was coming on. We just didn't tell them because they hadn't committed to doing the show. Trump was super easy. We offered one day. He said yes, that was it. There was no back and forth, no stipulations, no edits, just a straightforward booking. Harris's team, on the other hand, never fully committed. He also rebutted the claim that Harris's team conducted a walkthrough. That's not true. These people didn't have a date. They never agreed to show. No one ever committed to doing it. They kept pretending that I lied. He believes that it was because there's many people on her staff that didn't want her to do it, and because they're so woke. They also wanted to make sure that someone came in and was making sure there was no edits. Very, very paranoid campaign the Harris had. They were trying to run it kind of like the Biden basement campaign, but couldn't do so to the degree that they wanted. So that's just a couple of updates. Keep the comments coming in. I see a lot of them coming up, so we'll read them when we get back. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. We'll be back after this short commercial break.
From laminate and vinyl to tile and wood, Floor & Decor has more options for pros, homeowners, and anyone looking for the right look at the right price. Your next beautiful space is at Floor & Decor.
Sheldon and Missy face off in Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
I'm not feeling so good. Biohazard! Biohazard!
Young Sheldon. Weeknights at 6:30 on Big Fox.
And something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on Big Fox.
New season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my number one goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox. Shell Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon. Weeknights at 6:30 on
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. You see the roads are a little nasty out there, so please be careful on your way into school or your way into work. And you want to check ahead of time to see if they're delayed or if they are canceled. Okay, a couple comments from viewers. I like this answer. We've been posing the question. It's all for fun. Someone suggested that we do it yesterday in the program. Who will get more camera time during the Super Bowl, Taylor Swift or Donald Trump? Now, there's been some different reasons why people believe who they believe it's going to be. This is a very in-depth one. Who gets more camera time, Swift or the president, is in the hands of the Philadelphia defense. If they shut down Kelsey, we will be spared shots of Swift jumping up and down with her mouth hanging open. I vote the president. Philly defense will have a big day. I like that answer. That's a well thought out answer. Thank you very much. And I like the reasoning behind it. Comment from a different viewer. Oh, and I put you down. So it's all tied up now. A different viewer. I guess my Trump flags won't be coming from Temu. Is that how you say that? Temu? LOL. As nothing is coming in from China. Well, that actually, all postal items from China are blocked. That did change yesterday. They did reverse that yesterday, just hours after it was originally announced. So don't worry. You can get your Trump flags from Temu. Okay, if I'm pronouncing that right. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. The fastest way to enforce an election for Lee Stephanik's district is to refuse to pay taxes. Isn't that called taxation without representation? Money always talks. Thanks for a great show. Great job. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's very nice for your kind words. I will say in no way, shape, or form are we suggesting in any way not to pay your taxes. We don't need that. But the people of the 21st Congressional District, I know that happened, if you recall, when Eric Massa resigned here in the 23rd Congressional District. There was those months without, as you put there, taxation without representation, and there was a little bit longer of a delay than need be. But Joe Semplinsky, after Tom Reed resigned, Joe Semplinsky ran for that special election, but there was a little bit of a delay on that as well, and that's always a concern. In this case, if Governor Hochul and Hakeem Jeffries get their way, the people of the 21st Congressional District can be without representation from, the next couple days, let's just say February 10th. For argument's sake, February 10th all the way to the end of June. Maybe now they're even saying all the way till November. It's wrong, and everybody knows it's being done for political reasons. But their hypocrisy knows no bounds, and they do not seem concerned. Well, they seemed a little concerned by the optics because they tabled it on Monday or kind of put it back behind closed doors, but it could pop up at any time. We've been talking about USAID. Well, the White House press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, confirmed yesterday that this surprised me. Politico, the news outlet Politico, they have been receiving funds from the U.S. government that are now going to dry up thanks to Doge's crackdown on spending. Leavitt was asked about reports that media outlets will be impacted by Elon Musk's plan to cut funding for U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. Politico, this is shocking, and Politico is left. I mean, they do have a bias. Politico received at least $8.2 million from the United States government in recent years, with $44,000 of that coming from USAID. Where's the rest coming from? That needs to be cut. Upon coming out here to the briefing room, I was made aware of the funding from USAID to media outlets, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room. And I can confirm that more than $8 million taxpayer dollars have gone to it, essentially subsidizing subscriptions to Politico on the American taxpayer dime. It will no longer be happening. The Doge team is working on canceling those payments now. This is a whole government effort to assure that we are going line by line when it comes to the federal government's books. Imagine that. $8.2 million of your hard-earned taxpayer money going to Politico, which time and time again has proven their allegiance to the left. The news from the White House came after Politico staffers expressed concern that employees receiving their recent biweekly direct deposit late could have been tied to Musk's spending crackdown. Many Politico employees typically receive direct deposit every other Tuesday, but this week they woke up and noticed the funds didn't hit their accounts. An employee told Fox News that the management didn't communicate about the issue until 9 a.m. when they chalked it up as a technical error. According to the employee, many concerns went unaddressed as panicked Politico staffers expressed worry about paying bills and being hit with overdraft fees from their banks. Politico's management eventually insisted it was a technical error between the bank and payroll provider and that everyone would be paid by the end of the day. The employees were eventually paid, but it didn't appear as pending until after 5 p.m. Uh-oh. Well, that's horrible management, too, by Politico. A Politico spokesperson said employees were paid yesterday. There was a technical error that was remedied in a matter of hours. Yeah, full payday. That's a little suspicious. I'm sure a lot of overdraft fees, I'm sure a lot of late fees were caused because of this. But $8.2 million of your money going to Politico. Trump freezes millions of USAID funds for foreign media as well. This, for some reason, triggering globalist outrage. President Trump put a 90-day hold on all USAID's foreign aid this week, which subsequently cut $268 million from media outlets in more than 30 countries, according to the agency's 2025 foreign aid budget, reported by Reporters Without Borders. USAID's 2023 fact sheet boasted the agency supported 6,200 journalists, 707 news outlets, and 279 media sector civil society organizations. We have articles scheduled until the end of January, but after that, if we haven't found solutions, we won't be able to publish anymore, a journalist told this outlet. I'm not going to go through each one, but again, think of the money. The agency's work includes, and this is USAID, many radical left agenda items, such as $1.5 million to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in Serbia's workplaces and business communities. $2.5 million for electric vehicles for Vietnam. Do you think Elon Musk is saying, don't worry about that one as much? No, I'm just kidding. $2 million for sex changes and LGBT activism in Guatemala, and $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt. Clayton Weimers, executive director, said of Reporters Without Borders, the programs that have been frozen provide vital support to projects that strengthen media transparency and democracy. President Trump justified this order by charging, without evidence, that the so-called foreign aid industry is not aligned with U.S. interests. Is that really where our money should be spent? We got a couple media updates when we come back, but I realize we're running a little bit late. Keep those comments coming in. Keep those picks. Who do you think will get more time? Will it be Trump or Swift at the Super Bowl? Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
I would never the picture that I have. I'm the only one that's not smiling. Even though I'm with my close friends, I felt alone. I didn't feel pretty. I didn't feel confident. When I got Invisalign, I built my confidence. It was the best investment that I could do.
Name a food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Sharing the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Yes, I wonder if Hochul realizes what this is going to do when she runs for re-election. Saying we're not going to turn red in New York, but she's working hard at making us turn red. Yes, I agree. I think decisions like this, when people see it, it's why Trump made such great inroads when it comes to New York votes, and also we're seeing his poll numbers at record highs. I think 2026 is perhaps the chance for Republicans, but it's going to take a lot of work. Mike Lawler has all but declared, but he's got to declare early. That's one problem that Republicans have in New York, that when they run for governor, they often wait way too late, in my opinion. Hey, Fox News, you may have heard the breaking story yesterday. Donald Trump's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, is joining Fox News, where she will be hosting a Saturday evening show. The New York Times broke the story yesterday afternoon, announcing the equal parts stunning and not at all surprising news that Trump would be joining the largely right-of-center cable network, it says here. Writing for the New York Times, Michael Grinbaum reports Laura Trump, Mr. Trump's daughter-in-law and a former co-chair of the Republican Party, will begin hosting a new weekend show on Fox News on February 22nd. The network is set to announce this on Wednesday. The president and his children are frequent guests on Fox News, but there is no precedent for the close relative of a sitting president to host a high-profile show on a major television news channel. My View with Laura Trump, I like that name instead of The View. My View with Laura Trump is expected to air on Saturdays at 9 p.m. and will include a mix of analysis and interviews with influential figures. The network is describing the show as focused on the return of common sense to all corners of American life, echoing a phrase, common sense, that the Trump administration has frequently deployed. So that's great. Laura Trump will be on Fox News. Okay. Oh, and you know what's interesting? News Corp, News Corp CEO Robert Thompson, he is the CEO of the Murdoch Empire publication, said he believes there's a tangible increase in business confidence here in the United States since the election, saying that the yoke of woke has been lifted. Very interesting. That's Robert Thompson, as we talk about media updates. Okay, we mentioned earlier about Al Green calling already, introducing the articles of impeachment against Donald Trump. We think of some of the quote-unquote old guard. We mentioned Schumer earlier on, the Nancy Pelosi's. It was announced yesterday on X, formerly known as Twitter, that AOC's former chief of staff announced that he is going to face Nancy Pelosi in a primary. I've got some news. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, and there's no disrespect meant. Sakate Chakrabarty said, I've got some news. I've decided to run against Nancy Pelosi to represent San Francisco in Congress. I know some of you might be surprised the Speaker Emeritus Pelosi is running again, but she is for her 21st term. Wow, that's a great way to start your campaign, to highlight that fact. Pelosi running again for her 21st term. And then he went on quite a tangent in regard to Trump and Elon Musk. Then saying he respects Nancy Pelosi and her accomplished career, but we are living in a totally different America than the one she knew when she was entering politics 45 years ago. So anyway, AOC's former chief of staff primarying Nancy Pelosi, as Nancy Pelosi will be running, and this is 2 years off, but running for her 21st term. By the way, as a news update, Senator Mitch McConnell is fine, according to his office, after he was seen using a wheelchair. He fell twice yesterday at the Capitol. Senator McConnell is fine. The lingering effects of polio in his left leg will not disrupt his regular schedule of work, a McConnell spokesperson said in the statement. They added that McConnell using a wheelchair purely as a precautionary measure. So if you see those photos, it'll explain a little bit why. We got a couple last-minute things we'll get to. Get those last-minute comments in as we wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. We will be right back after this. Stay with us.
Never settle for ordinary. Not when outstanding is within reach. From laminate and vinyl to tile and wood, Floor & Decor has more options for pros, homeowners, and anyone looking for the right look at the right price. With an entire store full of ideas in stock, your next beautiful space is at Floor & Decor.
32 teams started a journey. 2 are left standing.
Both teams look unstoppable right now.
GMFB Overtime has everything you need to know to get game ready for Super Bowl.
This is what it's all about.
With in-depth on-site pregame coverage.
This is everything.
And Monday, don't miss our extensive post-Super Bowl 59 show from New Orleans.
Will there be beignets?
Your road to Super Bowl 59 starts here on GMFB Overtime.
The Bix website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
The Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, wrapping up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. I'm your host, Frank Acom. So yesterday, ICE did raid 100 TDA gang members in Aurora, Colorado. This is months after the governor there claimed that they didn't even exist. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers hit multiple apartment complexes across Aurora, Colorado in raids targeting 100 TDA de Arega gang members on Wednesday, just 5 months after the Democratic governor dismissed reporting by the New York Post that the violent migrant gangs had taken over the Denver suburb. ICE's Denver branch said officers made arrests alongside federal agents from numerous other agencies, including the DEA, FBI, U.S. Marshals, and Customs and Border Patrol. The agency did not say how many gang members were ultimately nabbed in the raid. It was a pre-dawn raid yesterday. The Rocky Mountain DEA division wrote that the raid was part of a Homeland Security operation taking place. Feds were seen loading handcuffed suspects onto buses parked outside at least one complex, according to Denver 7. U.S. military are flying surveillance aircrafts for missions along the southern border with Mexico, like not spy operations, but reconnaissance. I always have trouble with that word. But the U.S. military is flying surveillance aircraft along the southern border with Mexico to collect intelligence, according to U.S. defense sources familiar with the operations at the border. The U-2 spy planes have been joined by P-8A Poseidon aircrafts and are flying the length of the border, so using all technology at hand. Oh, speaking of illegal immigration, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy now is boasting about thwarting the ICE raid with his taxpayer-funded security detail. There was a time when ICE was randomly showing up on a street corner and apprehending brothers and sisters from the immigrant community, Murphy said at a press conference. He claimed he caught wind of a neighborhood that was at risk of an immigration enforcement sweep, and then he put himself and his New Jersey State Police bodyguards between authorities and illegal migrants. I just went there one night with my security detail and just hung out there. And then the federal agents never showed up. Whether that scared them off or not, I don't know, but it's an example of a small step that we're willing to try anything if it's contrary to our values. This is going to be interesting how that plays out. There's a kind of an interesting piece if you're a politically wonky person at Fox News. And it's about how Senate Select Committee on Intelligence Chairman Tom Cotton was instrumental in pushing Tulsi Gabbard's controversial nomination to be Director of National Intelligence past its first hurdle in the upper chamber. And it took a full course press to do it, they're saying. Cotton led the effort with a makeshift Gabbard confirmation room and the enlisted assistance of former rebel Democrat turned independent Kristen Sinema of Arizona, as well as former Intel Committee Chairman Senator Richard Burr of North Carolina. The cordial and calculated campaign to confirm Trump's nominee for DNI saw close work between Gabbard's confirmational Sherpa team, the White House Legislative Affairs team, and Vice President J.D. Vance, the sources said. Kind of interesting if you like diving into the weeds on that. Did you see Ukraine President Zelensky this week said that if the U.S. cannot guarantee a quick path toward NATO membership, then there are alternative security options Kiev would accept, which is nuclear weapons. You may have heard that earlier in the week. Well, retired Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg said the chance of them getting their nuclear weapons back is somewhere between slim and none. Let's be honest about it. We both know that's not going to happen. All right, we are out of time for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Make sure you join us tomorrow as we wrap up the week. And what a week it has been. It's hard to keep up with everything that we talked about, all the breaking news stories. And again, I appreciate all the waves and all the comments this morning. Had a fun conversation with you. You can feel free to make your voice heard on who will get more camera time, Swift or Trump. You can do that 24/7. That number is always 24/7, so feel free to reach out at any time on any of the topics of the day. But right now, as it stands, Taylor Swift is up 1 over Donald Trump, and who will get more camera time. It's not about who should, it's about who will get more camera time. Have a great day, everyone, and we will be back tomorrow morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV Big Fox. I look forward to it already.